Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And I'm looking at a difficult subject, and that is puberty blockers for children. Now, I have a view. My personal view is I think, no, they are wrong. And the reason I think they're wrong is one only has to look at the evidence. Because one of the things that the trans lobby push is, oh, but it's making the children feel better. No, it's making the trans lobby feel better because the children often regret it. Indeed, it's one of the very little talked about facts of sort of gender reassignment is the regret that people have. And I'll address that in the main part. But England have banned it. They're not allowed to have puberty blockers in England now. Scotland are being urged to follow suit, but have no plans to do so. And this can create an issue. You're going to have English children going to Scotland in order to get medication that in England is wrong and is deemed wrong, is now illegal to have, because the Westminster government say they need to protect children. And they are basing their decisions on scientific and medical evidence rather than just feelings. In Scotland, they're still allowing feelings into decisions which can destroy lives. So we're going to take a look at this. We'll go through it. But there is one point I want to make, which I will make in the main piece, that needs to be regarded very, very seriously. Here goes. So NHS England bans puberty blockers, but catastrophically damaging and irreversible drugs are still available in Scotland. Now, why am I against them? I'm going to say now that this is evidence-based as well as my feelings, if you like. Because one of the things these do is they stop puberty. And for a boy, it means he remains boyish. Now, one has to look as to why the likes of Stonewall and the trans community want to keep boys boyish. And I think we know straight away. We know why they like lots of little girly boys. These young, female-looking, not growing up into their full potential boys, remaining very young, simple-looking, smooth. We can see why. We understand why the trans like that. That's number one. Number two, it is irreversible. So if it turns out that it is just a phase and that later on there's regrets, well, it's too late. There's no going back. And of course, the problem with these people, if it's not outright gaslighting by others, even if it's internal, it's still a mental issue, not a physical. The problem isn't here in the body. The problem is here in the mind. And how do we know this? Because so many people, and this is not talked about, so many people regret what they've done. And indeed, with post-op surgery, the self-ending rate for post-ops is 20 times higher. Not 20% more, 20 times more. Because the problem they thought was because they're in the wrong body, they get the body changed, they realise they're still very unhappy and that it wasn't the body. And now they deeply, deeply regret what they've done. It isn't highlighted again by the trans. They push this ideology and then hide the truth. They don't tell the kids, here, take this, remain a boy, because then I'll find you very attractive. And then as soon as you have done it and you have all your operation, you're 20 times more likely to take your own life. Shh. Don't keep it, Don't tell anyone. Let it be our little secret. And that's why I'm against it. Because the evidence is there. The regrets are massive. The problems are not physical. They're mental. And of course, it acts as an attractant to perverts, predators and peds, of which the trans community has more than its fair share. They are 12 times more likely to be sex offenders than the background rate. Government's own figures. And so, yes, we need to ban them. The fact that Scotland hasn't means you're going to get trans, how can you put it, tourism, I suppose, trans tourism. People going up there to get these things, to come back to go, I want to stay a little boy. I want to be Peter Pan, And then all the men will like me forever. Parents who do this to their children need to have those children removed from their care because they are damaging the children. They are not acting in the child's best interests. That's my personal view. Anyway, the UK government ending the routine prescription of puberty blockers will help ensure care is based on evidence, expert clinical opinion, and is in the best interests of the child, which it absolutely is. Children need to grow up. And indeed, going through puberty may be the thing that stops them thinking that they want to be a girl and actually realising, no, you don't. Because wanting something to happen, it doesn't matter how much you want it, of course. It's never going to happen. They are boys. They will become men and they will remain men for the rest of their lives. However short that may be. Scotland risks being left behind after NHS England said children will no longer be prescribed puberty blockers at gender identity clinics. The UK government said it welcomed the landmark decision, adding it would help ensure care is based on evidence and is in the best interest of the child. The move is also likely to spark renewed calls for the SNP administration to follow suit. But we know that the SNP administration don't want to. Can you imagine Harvey or Ross Greer wanting little boys to grow up, to become men? Or would you think that they are the sort that would prefer them to stay boyish? And of course, having talked themselves into this trap of the gender ideology, they can't exactly now go back and say no. And so Scotland and the Scottish administration, the SNP Green administration, are actively now going to legislate to ensure children are harmed. And it's a very strange place for a government to be. Puberty blockers, which pause the physical changes of puberty, such as breast development or facial hair, will now only be available to children in England as part of clinical research trials. Oh, so they're experimenting on children now. That's the trans lobby. Let's get them in and experiment on children. PETA doesn't like people putting experimental stuff in rabbits' eyes, but hey, it seems acceptable to create a whole generation of child eunuchs. Very, very weird. Anyway, NHS Scotland has previously said puberty-blocking drugs would continue to be prescribed north of the border. The number of young Scots questioning their gender has soared in recent years, with more than 3,700 were waiting for treatment at the end of last year. Isn't that frightening? Isn't that frightening? 3,700 children, it's going to be predominantly boys, are being rushed through on an industrial factory scale to sterility, to permanent boyhood. And for what? So the trans lobby can push and use these children as cannon fodder in a battle that they are ultimately going to lose, because it doesn't matter how much lip heat you put on, doesn't matter how many frocks you own, you're still a man. The NHS England decision follows an independent review in 2020 of gender identity services for children under 18. And in 2021-22, there were over 5,000 referrals to GIDS, compared to just under 250 a year earlier. That review, led by Dr. Hilary Cass, followed a sharp rise in referrals to the Gender Identity Development Service, GIDS, run by Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust. Now, I've done the video on this, and it turns out that of all the people that had gone through, all the people that had been treated, so it's too late for them, of all those people, thousands upon thousands of children destroyed, sterilised, deformed, having perfectly healthy body parts hacked off. Of all those thousands, 97.5% were not gender dysphoric, and it was mental. And so those doctors are no different than Mengele. When you see the things he did to kids, these doctors are no different, and they need to be treated such and locked up. What they've done is a crime against humanity. And the very fact that the Scottish government is standing there today and is going, we're proud of what we're doing. We are proud to have this kind of thing going on in Scotland. We are proud to destroy the bodies, minds and future of children in Scotland. How dare they? And they're not even referring this to investigation. They're not even having, You know, let's pause it for now while we investigate. No, it's just carry on, get them out there, keep them boyish. Patrick likes him that way. They are predators, aren't they? You have to be to join the SNP, and I think honestly, you have to be to support them. We all know what the P stands for, and here's your proof. I'm coming up. Never has the phrase, "Won't somebody please think of the children," been used more appropriately. The SNP seem to think that Scotland's children are just there to be used and abused. For what? For the pleasure of others, I think. It doesn't come as a shock to me. We know, and I've said all along, that the people in the SNP are very weird. The Greens are very weird, and you won't trust any of them anywhere near children. But to be so blatant about it, to be so blatant as to come out and say, "Oh no, we want to keep those boys, keep them looking boyish. We like them that way," is a very, very weird thing, and it just goes to show how inappropriate it is for this party to be in the position of authority. They're not looking after children, quite the opposite. They're grooming them. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and just be amazed that I didn't get angry through that one. I had to really calm myself down. I knew I was going to, so I kept down. Anyway, speak to you later. Bye.